channel. My name is Bobby Zen, and today we are going to zen out making these delicious looking cupcakes. We're going to jump right into the tutorial. We'll have time to talk in a little bit, but let's Shift A, start with a circle, and change your vertices to about 90, but this is your cupcake. Do whatever you want. There are no rules here. We're going to go up to our select option here on the top left and do the deselect checkered. And what that'll do after you press S to scale is it'll allow you to get that like tinted triangular look and then fill the entire thing. Once you have that, let's extrude on the Z axis and you basically have your baking cup. Like, there you go. It's right there. It's good. We're there. We're like a third of the way through. It's wonderful. Anyway, I switch over to the top view and then just get rid of that top face of our baking cup, and there it is. It's hollow, and now we just have to work with some geometry and just tweak it so that it is exactly what we're looking for. So I go back to the frontal view, and then I'm just going to select the base edges here. So now what we want to start doing is really tweaking this geometry. So again, I select just the base vertices or edges, whatever you're in right now, but I'm in vertices at the moment, and I'm going to inset. And so I'll inset all the way to the center because we are going to be creating some loop cuts for our baking cups. So I inset it all the way towards the circle, and then I do another loop cut, and just make sure that on the left hand side you do your number of cuts to about 3. But again, it's your cupcake. And also something to note is that I did enable the add-on extra objects as well as loop tools. And what the loop tools is going to do is it's going to take these vertices and switch them to different geometry for us. So what I do is I'm going to select this edge loop here and then loop tools and go to circle. And I'm going to do that with all of my loop cuts on the base, and I will leave the loop cuts on the top just the way that they are. And this is just going to help us manipulate and work with this geometry a whole lot better, create bevels and things like that. I also want to note that as I was working on this cupcake, I did a lot of recording. This took me about like 2 days or so. So this is pretty much the workflow of what I did. These are all of the major steps that I took to make this cupcake, and I'm saying it now because all I'm doing is simply beveling the bottom edges. So go ahead and work on that. And I did do a lot of just like shifting and adjusting and playing around with different things. I used so many different resources, a bunch of tutorials on YouTube. I was in Reddit like a crazy person because I use these modeling videos as a way to practice, a way to get better, and a way to just like really hone in on my skills in Blender. So this is just that. So I wasn't putting too much pressure on it, but I wanted to complete it, and I just thought it would be really cool. So I'm really happy with the end result. This particular baking cup is a little square for my liking, and you'll see me throughout the video like changing it and manipulating it and trying to kind of like squeeze it so that it has more of like, I don't want to say like an hourglass shape, that's ridiculous, but like I want to give it like more of a like, do you know what I mean? Anyway. And I do fix that towards the end, and you'll see in the final render, which I think is stunning gorgeous. I mean, I don't know. I don't mean to brag or anything, but I think it's gorgeous. So I do use a lattice or the lattice. I don't know how you say it, but I do use the lattice modifier to give it more of like a curvature. Okay, so we're back in it. I essentially just like shade smooth. And we're gonna add, oh, here's another thing, everybody. I am using Blender 4.1, and they did move the smooth by angle. It's no longer in the normals setting. You have to go into modifiers and then apply it as a modifier. So that's what I did for the shade smooth here. If you can't find it in your Blender and you have more of an updated version. So you'll also see me here like playing with the axis and the Y. So I'm kind of squeezing it in and out, trying to give it more of like that curve that I'm looking for. But I found in a wonderful tutorial, and I'll link it below so you guys can check it out, but they use that lattice modifier, and we're able to kind of use, I remesh a ton of times in this. There's a lot of quads and polygons in this particular cupcake, so I did have to use that lattice tool to kind of combine it all and manipulate it, and I've never used that tool, and it was so cool. So that is why I love doing these models so much, and why I love kind of just working on random projects because I think it helps me with my just like learning Blender and just practicing a lot of different tools that I've never used before. I don't know what made me remember that the smooth by angle was no longer in the normals, but it was now a modifier. I feel like I heard it in a tutorial or something. So, all those things. Anyway, let's get back into it. So now you'll see me here trying to kind of scale it and just like adjust it because it's a little too like, I don't know, a little too up and down for me. And I know baking sheets can be the little things that you put in the oven. They could be any shape. They could absolutely be this perfect kind of like cube, but it wasn't speaking to me. So I do change it and it does get better. So just, keep that in mind. We're going to add a subdivision and we're just going to go ahead and apply the shade smooth, and we'll just kind of like keep it rocking. Again, you'll see up at the top right, I have my reference photo. So if you are wanting to make a cupcake, I recommend, I invite you to find your own reference photo. And, when I saw this cupcake, I was like, this is the one. This is me. If I was a cupcake, I'd be her. This is my cupcake. So that's why I picked this reference, but you pick what you want. So now we are going to add a modifier. It's definitely not the decimate modifier. I was looking to get the deform modifier, so I kind of messed up just a little bit. So don't deal with that. So we're doing a mesh. No, I'm sorry. Are we displacing? We're displacing. That's what we're doing. And the reason we're doing this is because we want to make the insides of the cupcake as well as give the outside a little bit more of like a textured look. We don't want it to be so uniform because cupcakes are baking, and sometimes they're just like, it's just not uniform. It's not symmetrical by any means. So again, giving yourself space to kind of explore with that. And I'm sorry my head is kind of covering some of the things on the right, but I feel like this was better than the left side. You let me know in the comments though. Okay, so we use our displace modifier, and our texture that we pick is clouds. That's always a texture. I don't know if I've ever used any other texture outside of the clouds, but we're using our texture here. And let me see, maybe I can move myself over while I'm doing this. I don't really know. This could be really tragic. Let me see if I can move myself over while I'm recording. Ooh, I kind of can. Oh, but we're not covering too much, so we're fine. So we also have, so I'm just playing around with the strength of the displacement modifier that we have. So you just want to get the look that you want. And this was really cool. I never thought of using this because what we are eventually going to do is just Shift D, duplicate it, and that's going to be the filling for our cupcake. And this is genius because it's the exact replica of the baking cup. So it's going to fill perfectly. In my mind, when I was just kind of, anytime I'm picking a project to do, I'll just kind of like think in my head, okay, like how would I go about, making a cupcake? And so I'm like, okay, Shift A, circle, deselect, and then scale, and like all those things. And I'm just kind of like running through it in my brain. And once it came to the filling, I'm like, okay, I could just Shift A, cube, subdivide it, and kind of get it to work. But that's not how cupcakes are. They are exactly the shape of the baking cup. So this, I felt, was genius that I found on the internet. So what I do is I'm creating a vertex group now so that we can use this vertex group as the foundation for our new shape that we're going to create. So we're using the displacement tool. We created that new vertex group, so that part is what's going to be displaced. And then we're just going to Shift D and create a duplicate of it. We're not going to move it. We're not going to adjust or anything. You see me Shift D. We're going to let it stay right back in its space because we are simply going to fill it up, and that's our cupcake. I mean, easy peasy. Couldn't be easier. So I thought that was like super, super cool. So now we're just going to click our duplicated cupcake that we did. That is still basically just the baking cup right now, but we are going to, let's see, I think we're going to like jump into edit mode and fill it. No, we're not. What we're going to do is we're going to remesh. And this is really cool because I tend to stay away from remesh because it like freezes my computer. Like things start running slow, Blender crashes on me. I just kind of stay away from remesh a lot. And I'm really glad that this particular project forced me to give remesh a try in so many different ways. I mean, we remeshed the cupcake, we're going to remesh the frosting. It's just a really great tool. So I suggest playing around with it, seeing, save your work, save your work, save your work all the time, okay? My computer crashed a bazillion times working on this project. But we're remeshing, we're going to use sharp, and we're gonna change our depth to 7. And that's gonna give the texture that I like the best for my cupcake. But again, this is your project, this is your work. Do what you want, it's no pressure. You'll notice that it's kind of flat, it's kind of boring. So we are definitely gonna like tap in to give this a lot more texture, dimension, and a little bit of height, because when you bake your cupcake, it does not bake completely flat. Like, that's just not how it works. So it does rise up, of course. So we will be focusing on that next. But in the meantime, if you'll notice, the cupcake fills it exactly right. Exactly right. So I'm super, super excited about that. I can't explain to you why the lines are blue. I'm thinking the only reason is the remesh modifier. That's what I'm thinking it is. But if you know, please drop it in the comments. I would love to know. All right. I would love to know what that is. Right now, I'm not doing anything. I'm just playing with the shape of the cupcake because I wasn't feeling it still. Like the whole time, that's what was getting me. The shape was so wrong, but I was too far gone. I was too deep. You guys know what I'm talking about. As an artist, it's very hard to just delete it all and start over. So I couldn't do that. So now we're working in the cupcake. No, I'm sorry. We're working on the cup here, and now we're going to switch over to the cupcake. Let's apply that remesh. So now we have filling for our cupcake. So we are going to get into sculpting, which I'm a fan of the idea of sculpting, but I don't think I'm that great at it. It's still on my list of like wants. I want to be great at it. I want to be good at it. So this is a fun way to like practice my sculpting a little bit. So here's what we're going to do, you guys. I want you to go down. It's a cloth filter. That's what this one is. So you'll see that little like circle with the blue cloth. It's either like kind of like looks like a towel or it's like a square. I'm not sure which it is, but I just wanted to like double check that the sculpt tool was working, because sometimes you'll go into work on something in sculpt mode and it's like not working. So I just clicked draw just to see if it was working. So don't worry about this part. But if you want to create texture and detail into or onto your cupcake this way, again, baby, it's your world. You know what I mean? Like, do what you want. This is for fun. This is not that serious. It's not like brain surgery. We're just having a good time. We're making some cupcakes. You know what I mean? So now we're going to use the texture again, and we're going to use a texture brush in order to create the texture of the top of the cupcake, which was like so cool because I've never done this before. And I thought it was like a really fun way of creating texture. Like I've never quite experienced this. So we're using the cloud texture again. So we're just kind of playing with the size of our brush, and look how cool that is. Isn't that awesome? So again, I'm just kind of like playing and trying, and that's what a lot of my Blender experience is just like I'm just fumbling around. I'm just trying things out. I'm just seeing how things work. You know what I mean? So yeah, just do your thing, kind of just like play with the texture. And as I'm creating this texture, it's rising. So you can make it as uneven as you want, as bulky as you want. I mean, you can even kind of make it like spill over if that's your vibe. You can kind of see that it's not quite as high as I would like it. So I'm just going to keep playing around with it just so I can get that texture. But I love the deformity of it. Like, I love the bumpiness of it. It just gives so authentic. So I got really, really excited once we were getting into this. And again, I suggest that you just, I don't know, maybe when you get to this point, you save it in increments. My new favorite thing is to save in increments, because before I start applying modifiers, and like I'll do this before maybe like a bevel or something. I'm sorry, a Boolean. I always get bevel and Boolean, like the word mixed up. But a Boolean, I will save in increments. if I'm going to do a boolean, because sometimes booleans completely mess up the geometry, ruins everything. Like, you know what I'm talking about. So I will save before I apply it. And if I like how it turns out, then I'll save that as a different file so that I have two separate files. I have the one before the modifiers and then the one after. I do that all the time. So maybe when you get to this point where you have a mesh that is like free to play with, maybe you try all the sculpting tools and see what they do. I still don't know what all of these tools do. So I don't know, could be fun. Could be a fun adventure for you. You let me know how it goes. Drop it in the comments. And while we're still kind of playing with the sculpting here, I just want to take this time and say thank you to all of my subscribers. Oh my gosh, you guys have no idea how motivating it has been to go on this journey. That's why I'm trying this new format of video, because I just want it to be, I just want it to be good for you guys. So I hope this is good. And like I mentioned, go to those add-ons and add those extra curves, those extra tools. So I went into Shift A and then my circles, and I picked a star, okay? So this is just a star. It's just a star vertices, and I filled it. And then we're just gonna go up to the vertex, and we're just gonna bevel the vertices. That's all. This one took me a little bit of time to like figure it out. But again, go into your add-on, preferences, extra objects, and that's gonna allow you to get meshes like this, right? So if you go to curve, just like this, and before I pick star, and now this time I'm picking, I think this one's called a helix, and the helix is going to give you that swirly swirl. And this was super fun because once I saw the helix, I was like, ooh, we got frosting, we're going to make frosting. I never made frosting. I've been dying to make frosting. So like being able to just like get to this point, I was like, oh, like we're going to do it, even though this took me 2 days, okay? Took me 2 whole days. But anyway, so I am taking this helix and I'm playing, you guys. I'm playing with the angle. I'm playing with where it starts. And I want you to just keep in mind that this helix is not your actual frosting. The star is what's going to be our frosting, right? So I made that star. You see right there above the cupcake, that's our actual frosting. This helix is just what the star is going to follow. So just keep that in mind, okay? Because I kind of got excited and my brain is like, ooh, I'm going to take this helix, I'm going to turn it into a mesh, I'm going to thicken it up. And it's like, there's a better way. There's a better way. And I think that doing the star was actually so much better because it gives it like that weight, that thickness, exactly what we're looking for, right? So this was another fun time for me during this building of a cupcake because I've definitely used a curve as like a pathway, and I've used a curve to deform my geometry and such, but I've never made frosting. So I'm like, ooh, this could be fun. So we're gonna take that that star that we made and we're gonna screw it. So add the modifier, the screw modifier, and that's going to make it like a solid geometry, like, and it'll just kind of keep going up. And then what we want to do is add a curve modifier so that we can make the frosting, the star, follow the curve, just like I just mentioned, right? So once we get it here, look, it kind of wraps around and we are in business. This is so exciting for me. I'm like super nerding out right now. Again, play with settings. I'm playing with the screw size. If you see, like, it's still wide open. So we definitely are going to have to go into edit mode and like adjust things, but get your general shape. Like, and it's absolutely okay if the frosting is like overlaying on itself. Like if it's overlapping, I think it's perfectly fine. It's your cupcake, do what you want. But I think it's perfectly fine for it to look like this. Like the more frosting, the better, really. True talk, I think the reference photo has the perfect amount of frosting. And you can argue with me in the comments. It's just, oof. It just makes me want a cupcake. I don't know. I'm just like hungry. Anyway, so you'll see me just kind of playing, seeing the length of it. If you tab into edit mode, what it'll do is it'll go just straight up, right? And then once you go back into object mode, it'll go back into its spiral. But I think it goes straight up so that you can adjust it and fix it, right? So I'm kind of just playing with scale. I've never made frosting before, so I just want to see what things are looking like. So that's why I'm here, guys, because I feel like the screencast keys and me not talking, it would have been way too complicated. So I adjusted it in edit mode. And as far as like size and all that stuff, like we're not super tripping off of that right now. We're just gonna focus on getting the basic shape of this. So now I'm adding just a simple deform because what that's gonna allow us to do is like taper. So I'm just looking to like taper the top of our see, just like that. The top of our icing because essentially icing absolutely tapers. So now I'm just kind of playing with it. So this is where you have full creative control, right? Like, don't focus on my settings or anything like that because I'm winging it, baby. I'm winging it. And that's what I do with most of these. I just kind of wing it, And I think that's how you learn. I learned so much from this tutorial. I mean, it is now a tutorial because I'm doing it, but I learned so much from this project. So look, I think my frosting foundation, we're looking good. And I mean, we're going to jump into sculpt mode. We're going to work. We're going to tweak it. We're going to do our very best to make it look like legit frosting. So you'll see I'm just kind of playing with it. I'm playing with the screw settings. I'm kind of just like in and out of everywhere. And I'm the queen of like playing with the settings. I will break something in a minute, but I believe in the undo button. I don't know about you, but I believe in the undo button. So, okay, so I think I got the frosting basically looking how I like it. I know I'm not going to be able to get it to screw much more. So now I was in a space where I'm like, okay, bet. We got the basic, we got the foundation, and I'm just going to apply this. I'm going to apply these modifiers. One thing I do kind of get like, I don't know, anybody else, but like I get really stressed out when I have to apply modifiers because I'm like, there's no going back. Like, this is it. I'm making a solid decision right now. So no, but I felt good about it. I liked the base. And once I applied all the modifiers, then I was able to kind of like play with shape and stuff. So I knew I wanted the frosting amount to be the exact same as the reference. Like to me, the reference is the absolute perfect cupcake. Anyway, I tabbed into edit mode. I select the edges of the top part of that frosting and I just scale it all the way in so that there's not a gaping hole. It doesn't happen with frosting, right? So I just like squeezed it in, scaled it in, and now I'm just kind of manipulating it. So what you'll see me doing now, the base is also open and it's kind of like in a wonky, hanging off the edge, like weird space. So I just start like playing with it, scaling it. I know that I'm going to be jumping into sculpt mode after we leave here. So I'm not too anal about what I'm doing, but what I want to do is kind of get this frosting to close in a full circle, like how it kind of would be at a bakery. Like it's not just gonna have this weird like hard stop right there, right? So I'm like rotating, I'm turning, I'm kind of winging it. Again, I'm winging it right here. I'm winging this. Again, this is your cupcake. Do what you want. Nobody's judging you, all right? I would love to see your cupcake though. I really would. Or tell me in the comments what your favorite kind of cupcake is. Because if I'm being honest, my favorite favorite cake of all time is carrot cake. I'm going to say that's goat. But this cupcake is for sure like a default. If that's handed to me, I'm eating it every time. Carrot cake, I'm not eating it every time. It could be too sweet. But that's a conversation for another day. I'm sorry. We're here for blender, right? Anyway, I'm just working on the frosting. I'm just kind of trying to wrap it so that it kind of looks that it makes more sense. You know what I mean? So I'm just in edit mode. I'm rotating on the Z. I'm extruding. I'm rotating. I'm extruding. I'm rotating. I'm extruding. And we are going to use another really fun tool in sculpt mode. And I cannot wait to tap in and show you all what it is here. I mean, it is just really funny how like intricate and like detailed that we are when we're working on like our blender projects. I'm like, this is not how frosting on a cupcake is. It's like, when have I ever really dissected frosting on a cupcake? It's very interesting, but anyway, I think it's looking good. I think it's looking close to the reference, and I'm giving a little rotation. Okay, a little rotatey. We are going to rotate it in other ways too. We are going to use a snake tool and sculpt to kind of give it like a little, as if I'm like twisting it. You know what I mean? It's just, we're back at the remesh, you guys. Look at me. I'm a remesh queen. That's what I do. I remesh. It didn't crash on me, so it's been working. So I'm remeshing, and I'm just figuring out like which one looks the best. Voxel, way too much. It's like a blob. But sharp looks pretty good if I kind of like play with the settings a whole lot more. So moral of this story, everyone, is don't be afraid of the remesh tool. I was once upon a time until I did this project, and now I'm a remesh queen. So you see what it does. So so I don't know if I fully committed to that remesh. I think I wanted to check. Okay, we wanted to check the face orientation. I don't know what I'm really looking for. I'm just looking for blue on the outside, red on the inside. If you can dive deeper into that for me, let me know. Let me know, because I'm always just looking for blue on the outside, red on the inside. The end. So I think I might have went back and put the remesh in there, and now I'm back in sculpt mode, and we're gonna do another really cool tool. And this one is right underneath that cloth filter, and it's like the purple one. I don't know what it's called, I forget, and I tried to like write it down to remember, but we're here now. But the cloth filter that we used earlier, do the one right underneath, the purple one, okay? And then you're gonna go up to the top. Oh wait, I'll tell you what it is right now. Oh, it's called cloth filter, everybody. It's a cloth filter, okay? So use the cloth filter in the top settings where it says filter type. You want to use gravity. And what you want to do is go to that cupcake, right? The cupcake top, and make it a collision object. Just make it a collision object. You don't have to do anything else, right? Look what it's doing. Is this not the coolest thing? I had no idea that this existed in Blender. Like, this was like for me, okay? So I'm using that, and you see me struggling, right? You see me? I'm trying to talk through it, but I'm struggling. And what's happening here is because a lot of tools in sculpt mode is you'll just have to click it on any space on the screen and like scroll to the left or the right. So I was unsure if that's what this was because it wasn't responding in real time. Like I would move and then it would. So I couldn't decide which was up or down, but we get there. So what it does is it like squishes, it collides your collision object with whatever is your sculpt object. So I'm kind of like squishing the frosting so that it looks like we did it, right? I don't know. I just was super hype off that. I thought it was super cool. So we're using that tool again. So I think I had to like undo a couple times to really try to figure that out. You guys might hear my dog in the background. It's kind of distracting. I'm so sorry. Or maybe I'm too loud and you can't hear her at all. But so we're using that sculpt tool, just about done. Okay, so I think it looks good. It kind of like squished on itself, so it looks like we just placed the frosting right on top of our collision item, aka our little cupcake, and this is our frosting. So now what we'll do is we're gonna go back into sculpt mode and we're gonna play with some more fun sculpting tools. So I have used the snake tool before, but not to this extent. I also didn't know that you could change the settings so that it gave you the amount of vertices that you use in the snake tool. So that'll be something that you see shortly. I think I'm just kind of tweaking things a little bit here and there. And now I'm back at that the first one, the cloth filter. Guys, I'm so confused with the blue one, right? We're gonna call them blue and purple because I'm like forgetting their names, but I'm back there and now I'm using smooth, right? So I'm just wanting to smooth it out a little bit. What I was finding though with that smooth tool, it was making it too smooth. Like it was too extreme. I didn't like it. Like I was kind of digging what the frosting is looking like now because if you really look at the reference photo, like it's not like it's smooth, yes, but I feel like once I put the texture on there, like it will give that. It'll give. But I do tweak a little bit and I do smooth out a little and play a little bit with the frosting and things like that. But for now, I'm using that cloth filter or mesh filter. It's the mesh filter. The other one's the cloth filter. So I'm using the mesh filter and I am smoothing it out on the frosting here. So let's see. I think another thing that I just want to kind of just like keep in mind is that the more imperfections that we have, like the more realistic it looks. If you notice, like right now with this, I'm using that smooth tool and you can see like it's shrinking. and I'm like a more frosting kind of girl. So I wasn't really feeling it too much. Then I thought about it and I was like, wait a minute, the rematch is still there. That's another thing, guys. The modifiers will adjust how other pieces of the program work or how they respond to your geometry. So if something's kind of being wonky or it's not quite working like how you anticipated, how you expected it, just make sure the modifier is applied and chances are it'll change. It'll change for what you want, you know? Okay, so now you'll see I'm using that snake tool that I mentioned. And this one's really cool because it's like you're just like, you're shaking and moving and like, you're giving it a little, you know? So I thought that this was really cool. So now I'm just kind of manipulating it and like moving it about, like moving it around. So I love the sculpt tool. I think it is so cool. I literally will take, you know, people making characters and things like that, and I will literally just like play it in the background. You know what I mean? So I just like encourage you to just like really, really, really just like play around and try out different sculpt tools and things like that in Blender. So, okay, what's the next thing that we are going to be working on? So, once we get this all kind of like twisted and sculpted, just remember if you do also like kind of look at your geometry and it's not quite giving what it's supposed to give, remember that there's going to be texturing over top, right? So you don't want to feel like too discouraged because a lot of the color is going to kind of like shift and adjust what you got going on. So if you go up to that where I just clicked, you can change the amount of like little dots that are like controlling your mesh, right? So I just went back to 1 so that I can kind of grab and pull where I wanted to. The thing with sculpting is like you have your geometry when you do it, you know, regular. And then once you start sculpting, it starts moving things in a way that like you can't easily go back and jump into edit mode and like grab a vertices and like change it. So I feel like once you start sculpting, you got to stick with sculpting for manipulating your geometry. That's the only thing. But I was at a place with this frosting that it was absolutely time to really just start like manipulating and just like changing up our frosting to the best of our abilities. So come here, Callie. I'm gonna call my dog over. Come here, boo boo. Come here. Come here. Can you come here? You wanna come sit with me? Come on. Come on. Come here, come here. Okay. This is my little puppy. Okay. Okay, honey. Let's put you right here. Okay. Okay. Oh, is your breathing too loud? I think her breathing's too loud it's too loud. Okay, baby, go ahead. You go over there. Okay. All right, let's keep going. I'm sorry. We just had a little cameo visit from my puppy. Okay, so now let's get into the next phase of our situation here. And we're going to get into, we did our sculpting. I'm so sorry. I have like a hair on my face. Okay. So we went ahead and did our sculpting. So I think we're pretty much good with that for now. And I want to just start getting into the next phase of the tutorial. And that is going to be working on the sprinkles. So I want to note before we get into our sprinkles, I'm adding a curve, right? So here's what I want to say about the sprinkles and the particle system that we're about to use. So make the sprinkles whatever you want. My sprinkles are circle, and there are some just regular sprinkles. So what I did was I'm just taking a basic cube, I'm shrinking it down, adding a few subdivisions, and then just kind of like adding some loop cuts so that I can get like, I don't know, like more of a circular shape. I actually took the loop cuts away because I wanted it to be just circle, right? So I just added a cube, shrunk it down on the x-axis, and then left no loop cuts because I didn't want it to be square. These are circle sprinkles on my reference. So whatever your sprinkles look like, make those, right? So you can like pause the video here and then just make your sprinkles, or you can just make regular sprinkles. So I mix them. I think I do like 4 circle ones with different colors, and then I'm gonna do regular sprinkles, like the cylinders. So we have 5 sprinkles, I'm sorry. So we do 5 sprinkles and maybe like 4 or 5 of the like the longer sprinkles here, right? So I'm doing the same. This one's like super simple. This is your full creative like exploration right here. Like do whatever you want or don't do sprinkles at all. And I just want to mention that I just recently started my own gum rose, so it's also under Bobby Zen if you want to check that out. So any of the models that I'll be modeling from here on out, and maybe some older ones too, I just make into .fbx files so that you can import them if you want to use them. I've been working on an isometric room right now. It's like an artist isometric room, but you know, with isometric rooms, there's so many tiny little details. So I'm constantly just making little things to add into the room. So I thought it'd be a really cool idea and super fun just to get, you know, even a better understanding of making, you know, FBX files and setting up geometry so that I can make it into an FBX file that's shareable. So I have already put up 2 different FBX files, and this will be the third. So I'm going to post this up there, my cupcake. So I'll do one plain with no sprinkles, with nothing. It'll just be your classic vanilla with buttermilk frosting, the goat. And then the second one will be with the sprinkles. So if you have a scene that you need a cupcake and you don't want to go through all this, you don't want to deal with all of this, that's fine. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. You know what I mean? And I'll leave everything separate so that you do what you want. You know, it's all wide open. I would love to get an understanding of how other people kind of do their projects, because I rarely join. If I don't have to join, I won't join, because I have this thing about I might need to fix it later. And I digress for one moment, but I did shift a plane, and that is going to be my particle system. That's where the particles are going to come out of. So that's what's up above there. So I add a particle system emitter to the scene, or to the plane, I'm sorry. And then I also, the frosting, what I did is I added it as a collision object, I believe. And then I just added the damping and the friction to 1. I set it to 1 so that when the sprinkles hit it, it sticks. Okay, so if you like, you see how it kind of stuck, you know, it's kind of like sticking on top. We want that. Like, that's the effect that we're looking for. If you don't put the dampening or the friction up, then it'll just kind of bounce off of it. Okay, if you leave it just as a collision. And then when we go to render, we're rendering under in the plane, so where we set the particle system, I set it as a collection, and the collection is all those sprinkles that I did. So you see what I did down there? I have 4 regular sprinkles, and I just like adjusted the way they looked a little bit. So I squished them on the Z, added a loop cut, and just in the center, and then I kind of like squeezed them so they look like a sprinkle, and I just grabbed the vertice on the Z up or down, just to give it a little dimension so that they look kind of, I don't know, like different. Now I know that I could have done this in geometry nodes, and I do want to try to do this in geometry nodes very soon, but I just really wanted to do it this way. I don't know. So we'll see. Maybe we'll have like a little cupcake series. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments if you're feeling it, if you like it. I don't, you know, whatever you want. But I'm just playing around. I am playing around with settings. I'm playing around with size, randomness. I suggest you go in and play around. I checked the rotation box, and let me see if I can move myself over again, if it's not too distracting. I hope this is, not the whole screen. Not the whole screen. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. So let me go ahead and do this. If I move myself over, it's too late. I'm so sorry. I'm new to this. Okay, I'm moving myself over. Here we go. Okay, so I'm playing with rotation, and really just, that's it. I'm just playing with rotation, and then up top there's like a scale and randomness. So we're just kind of playing with that. Forgive me for the whole screen move. It's crazy. Anyway. I'm such a rookie. Oh, single vert, everybody. I love the single vert. I love it. It is my favorite tool. If you don't have the single vert, get the single vert. It's an add-on. It's an extra object. So I shift a single vert. It gives you 1 vertice. But if you look what I did, I extruded to the right. I extruded up a little bit and up a little bit more. Use that screw modifier, and you have all the shapes that you want. I think Polygon is the one that taught me this one. But I mean, the single vert is goat. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I just solidified. I just wanted to make a little plate because I want to recreate the scene in our little reference photo. So I was like, okay, like I need to get a plate. I need to get some sprinkles. I want the sprinkles on the cupcake, but I also want it kind of just like all over the plate a little bit. You know what I mean? So this took me a while, okay? Because the one thing I like about geometry nodes is I think you have a lot more control over how they scatter randomly, right? Here, I left it up to the blender gods because, you know, the particles just drop and you hope they stick where you want, and then their lifetime is as long as you make it. So they're only there for however many frames. I mean, you can make it as long as you want, but they're only there for so many frames, so you want to stop it where you want to freeze it, right? Unless it's an animation, that's totally different. But we're just doing a still photo, so I had to play with this forever. But this is a general idea. So I made the plate a collision object. I made the plane, the floor, a collision object as well. I also added some subdivision so that when the sprinkles hit, they didn't like fall through. Also, you see how it kind of bounced like that? That's because the dampening and the friction were at 0. So keep that in mind if you find that that happens. That's the only settings that I changed in collision for both, right? And it kind of just like hits really flat. So I mean, I don't need it to bounce. I just needed it to like stay in place. But what I was finding is because I was using a square as my emitter, it was kind of falling in like a super weird way. So I think I like made it super big. I upped the number of emission particles and like I did a whole thing. It was like a whole thing. But I eventually got it to where I wanted. So again, I want you to take this and use this as your creative moment to do what you want. So fast forward, cutting all that extra nonsense out. Here we are with basically our finished cupcakes. The only thing that I haven't done and that I didn't record, because again, I was kind of just playing. I didn't record the texturing because I wasn't sure if I was even going to be capable of texturing this. So I didn't want to waste my time or your time fumbling through texturing, but I kind of got to a place. So what I'll do is I'll take a couple screenshots and I'll add them to this video if you do want to copy what I did as far as texturing. I did add a few nodes, some bump nodes, some noise textures, things like that, some gradients. There are a few things that I would like to change about the baking cups, but I think for the most part for my first cupcake, I am obsessed. I love it. I think it is so cute. I did use an HDRI, so that's what you are seeing here. I just had an HDRI in my settings. I just grabbed one that looked good and that gave me good lighting because I could use a 3-point lighting, but meh, why not? I was tired at this point. It was like midnight, day 2. I was like, I gotta get this finished. I really do. And we are coming up on, just about the end of this video. This is in Eevee, so I do end up rendering out in cycles, but you'll find that in Eevee you can like work swifter, easier. It's just like, I don't know. I really like Eevee to like start off with and then finish off in cycles. So this is it, you guys. This is my cupcake. This is the cupcake. Basically, you'll see the final shots and all of that. But before I go, I just want to say thank you so much to all my new subscribers. You guys have no idea how inspiring and exciting this journey has been for me. Thank you for allowing me to grow, allowing me to figure it out, and just like post videos like a mad woman. I'm on a mission. But you let me know what you think about this video. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. If you have anything that you want to know more about, let me know. I'm more than willing to chat with you. But I hope this was helpful in some way. I hope you learned something. I hope that you were able to find some kind of amusement in this. And I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day, evening, wherever you are. And again, thank you so much. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, you guys. And share, too. You know what I mean? Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Thank you, guys. Bye.